In northern Morocco, on the coast where the waters of the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean converge, lies Tangier, one of the main port cities of the Kingdom of Morocco, with a population of almost 1 million. The city of Tangier is one of the most important cities in the Mediterranean Sea, as it is the convergence center linking the African and the European continents. The city was formerly known by the names Tinca, Tika, or Tinkis, which according to the Berber language means the high place. Few cities have had a more varied history than Tangier, a city where history, mythology, and legends are intertwined. The oral legend that circulates among some residents states that after the flood made Noah's Ark lost its way at sea, and while searching for a new land, one day a pigeon landed on the top of the ship with mud in its feet. The passengers of the ship shouted "Mudja, Mudja," which means that they were close to near land, and so it was that land where the ship docked was named Tangier. While Greek mythology recounts that Antaeus, son of Poseidon and Gaia, built the city which he named after his wife Thetis. He attacked and killed the travelers, built a temple with their skulls, and gave it to his father. Another episode recounts the battle between Hercules and Antinous, and how the sword blows inflicted during the conflict severed the Gibraltar Strait between Europe and Morocco. While the most common legend tells that the mythical Hercules reached the slopes of the Calpe and Abla mountains, considered to be the ends of the earth, he decided to split the mountain into two parts by creating two columns, the first placed on the rock of Gibraltar in Europe, and the second in Africa, in which he engraved the following engraving: Nu plus ultra. The Greeks, however, thought that the pillars of Hercules were two rocky promontories that gave shape to the layer of Gibraltar and represented an insurmountable limit beyond which it was no longer possible to go. They thought that beyond this endangered and unknown stretch of sea, they would have condemned any human being. In essence, the columns delineated the extreme limits of the known world at the time. The mystery of what lay beyond the pillars of Hercules increased the imagination of many writers. According to Plato, beyond the columns lay the mythical Atlantis, while according to Dante, Odysseus managed to glimpse the mountain of Purgatory beyond the columns before his ship sank. Legend states that Tangier was Hercules' last resting place before he performed his 11th labor, which famously consisted of obtaining golden apples from the Garden of Hesperides, a garden located near Lixus, a Moroccan city known today as Larache. He rested in what has now become a well-known touristic destination in Tangier, namely the Caves of Hercules. Tangier over time has been subjected to many invasions from the west and east by Carthaginians, Vandals, Romans, Phoenicians, and Arabs, and in more modern times was the target of conquest by Spanish, French, English, and Portuguese. Some historical evidence dates the birth of the city to 12,000 years ago, considered one of the oldest in the state of Morocco. Around the 10th century, Tangier became a Phoenician and later a Carthaginian trade station. The remains from this historical period can still be seen in the ancient Carthaginian settlement of Cota, near Cape Espartel, a site dated around the 5th century. In 81 BC, the Roman general Quintus Sertorius conquered Tangier from the Mauritanian king Bocchus I. In 38 BC, during a series of Roman civil unrest, Tangier was conquered on behalf of Octavian, the future emperor Caesar Augustus, by Bocchus II and his brother Bogud, who supported Octavian's rival Mark Antony. Tingis gained further momentum in the field of commerce when it became part of the Roman Empire at the beginning of the 1st century AD, officially becoming the capital of the Roman province of Tingitana, Mauritania, with the name Tingis Colonia Julia Traducta. After 5 centuries of Roman rule and a brief occupation by the Vandals in the 5th century, the city was captured and annexed to the Byzantine Empire in the 6th century. Tangier regained vitality with the beginning of Islamic conquest. The Arab conquest of the Maghreb led to development of trade throughout the Sahara, which goods included salt, gold, and ivory. The first attempt at conversion to Islam can be traced back to the historical period of 682, when the Arab general Uqba ibn Nafi led the Maghreb Muslim conquest of Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, whose influence would leave a deep mark on Moroccan history. In 711, the Berber commander Tariq ibn Ziyad launched the Muslim conquest of Visigothic Spain, later known as Al-Andalus, crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from the North African coast, using the passage from Tangier as a starting point for the Umayyads to enter Spanish territory. Tariq established his main landing place in Gibraltar, which Arabic-Spanish semantic derivation means the mountain of Tariq. The Umayyad and Fatimid eras were the period when the two main forces shocked the medieval history of Morocco. Soon the Berber revolutionaries led by Maysara al-Madghari took over the city, made it their capital in 740 AD, and began to spread the Kharijite doctrines throughout Morocco, until when the rule of a caliphate from the east returned, settling for the next 2 years. From 780 AD until 985, the Idrisi dynasty ruled most of the territory of present-day Morocco and western Algeria. The Idrisids are traditionally regarded as the founders of the first Moroccan Muslim state, and their dynasty played an important role in the early Islamization of Morocco, which presided over increased Arab immigration into the first urban centers. The dynasty was named after its founder Idris I, also known as Idris the Elder, a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad and a figure regarded as the founder of Morocco. After the Battle of Fakka near Mecca between the Abbasid Caliphate and rebel supporters, he moved to Tangier and then to Walili, now Volubilis, where he was welcomed by the powerful Arab Berbers of Volubilis, who made him their imam. Recent archaeological excavations have uncovered Idris' older quarter just outside the Roman city walls. Idris I conquered a large part of northern Morocco and founded with his son Idris II the city of Fez and conquered Tlemcen in Algeria. Fez became the capital of the Idrisid state of Morocco. In the 10th century, the region came under the political rule of the Zenata tribes, a group of the local nomadic Berbers who fought battles on behalf of two rival powers in the region, the Fatimid and the Umayyad Caliphate of Cordova. In the following years, Tangier remained under the rule of the Idrisids, and the castle of Hajar al-Nazar was the target many times in the attack from the north by the Umayyads. After the end of the Idrisid rule in Fez, the Fatimid dynasty, which rule included the territories of Egypt, Palestine, Syria, and the Maghreb, occupied Sijil Maza and laid siege to Fez. Their reign was extended as far as the Atlantic, and both emirs of the conquered cities were captured. Of this event, known as the Fatimid expedition, only the cities of Tangier and Ceuta were retained by the Caliph of Cordova. In 1973, the Umayyad general Ghalib invaded Morocco and reasserted Umayyad sovereignty by reconquering Fez. In 1084, the Almoravids, one of the Berber Muslim imperial dynasties that arose from a coalition of nomadic tribes between Mauritania and Western Sahara, based in Moroccan territory, founded an empire in the 11th century that stretched from the Western Maghreb, Mauritania, and part of Andalus. The Almoravids' capital was established in Marrakesh, a city founded by the leader Abu Bakr ibn Umar in 1070. They aimed to spread the Islamic traditions throughout North Africa. The dynasty came to an end in 1147 when the founder's last grandson was killed while trying to flee Marrakesh after defeat in the battle with the Almohads, the next rising Berber Muslim movement. Around the 2nd century, the Almohads, a Muslim Berber dynasty, emerged in opposition to the Almoravids. The Almohads were Islamic revivalists with the task of imposing strict and pious observance of the rituals and laws of Islam, disapproving of the religious tolerance for which Al-Andalus was famous. They retreated to the last strongholds in Marrakesh after being defeated at the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa in 1212 by a Christian coalition of Leon, Castile, Navarre, and Aragon. Between 13th and 15th century, the Berber Muslim Marinid Sultanate overthrew the Almohads and began to control present-day Morocco and parts of Algeria and Tunisia. The Marinids were driven from their lands in the Bisca region, present-day Algeria, after the arrival of the Bedouin Arabs and moved to Morocco. The Marinids supported the Emirate of Granada in Al-Andalus and attempted to gain a direct foothold on the European side of the Strait of Gibraltar. In contrast to their predecessors, they sponsored Maliki Sunnism as the official religion and made Fez their capital. Under their rule, Fez enjoyed a relative golden age, pioneering the construction of madrasas and intellectual center. During this period, Tangier became an important commercial and military center for the defense of Andalusia and a port for the transit of volunteers. They prevented the conquest of the city by the Portuguese Prince Henry the Navigator in 1437, resistance that ended up with the final capture of Tangier by the Portuguese in 1471. Portugal began to occupy parts of coastal Morocco in 1415 with the Battle of Ceuta, a city strategically located on the Strait of Gibraltar, which offered important trade with the Levant, Egypt, and Libya, and where abundant stocks of tuna, coral, and gold constituted the local export industry, and was also where Berber pirates plied their raiding trade. After the capture of Ceuta and the beginning of the Portuguese colonial empire, conquering Tangier was the next objective. In total, the Portuguese managed to conquer 6 Moroccan cities: Ceuta, Xarezigir, Azila, Safi, Azamur, and Tangier. Portuguese rule over Tangier extended since 1471. King Alfonso V sent the Montemor Marquis John of Braganza to take possession of the city. The Tangier garrison numbered 40 knights, 470 infantrymen, 10 artillerymen, and 6 scouts. Following the conquest, they converted its main mosque into the city's cathedral and built European-style houses, chapels, and Franciscan and Dominican monasteries. At the time, thousands of its inhabitants emigrated to the neighboring valleys out of fear. Tangier was thus transformed into the Portuguese military barracks of North Africa. Tangier remained under Portuguese colonization until 1580, when Spanish rule arrived after the de facto separation of the Kingdom of Portugal from Spain. The ownership of the city passed to the English King Charles II. In 1662, Tangier was transferred to the English crown as part of the dowry of Catherine of Braganza, wife of Charles II. The English gave the city a garrison and a charter that made it equal to English cities, planned an improvement of the Ebo, the construction of a mole whose cost reached £340,000, and a new fortification was erected. It was during this period that Tangier was the protagonist of one of the most important battles in the Islamic West, the Battle of Tangier. The Battle of Tangier took place during English colonialism, when a force of Moorish warriors ambushed and defeated a detachment of the English Tangier garrison led by Governor Andrew Rutherford, 1st Earl of Teviot. The governor of Tangier implemented the construction of new fortresses in the territory for protection, but his problem was the lack of materials, so he went with his troops to an unknown area known as Jewish Hill, probably to collect stones or for an expedition. There he encountered 3,000 Moroccan warriors, and British troops pursued them in order to drive them out. However, they were ambushed. The clash between the two factions came on, and the British were overwhelmed. Teviot tried to rally the troops on the top of the hill, but very few managed to escape, and many of them were killed. Later, in 1680, Moorish pressure against the English occupation increased. Nevertheless, the English expenses for the maintenance of the city against Moroccan attacks induced by Sultan Moulay al-Rashid became excessive, so the entire city, including the molehill and the previously built harbour structures, were blown up by the English themselves before they finally withdrew in 1684. Tangier under the Sultan ages was entirely rebuilt and remained an integral part of Morocco. Since then, after centuries of divisive hardship, Morocco experienced peace and political reunification under Moulay's rule. His reign was considered a golden age in the country's history. As the second ruler of the Alawite dynasty, he consolidated Alawite power since 1684, the lineage of which he inherited continues to this day with the current Morocco's king. Today's video ends here. If you like it, I invite you to support me with a like and to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.